Well, hi guys, and welcome to Caribbean Soul Food Duo, where today we're cooking up something special. We're cooking up mustard greens with ham hocks. Yes, I said it, ham hocks. Ham hocks are not the typical meat around this house, but today we thought we'd mix it up just a little, just like we do with our music. The Caribbean Soul Food Duo is not just a cooking channel. We also mix up our music around here. Something to keep you enlightened in the kitchen, something to get you going, get your spirit arose. We want you to have fun in your kitchen. Your kitchen should be a place that your family loves coming to, and everything that comes out of it should feel and taste good. It's a place that, as a little girl, it was a hub for me. It's a place that your children gather, homework is done there. Let's bring love back to our kitchens where we sit around the table and we talk to our children. Let's bring love back to the kitchen. Let's bring good music to the kitchen. Let's, want to come home and cook instead of taking our kids out to restaurants all the time and doing social media. We're aiming to get your kids back to the kitchen with you so they can have conversation with you and you enjoy racing home every day, or if you're at home every day, you enjoy preparing a meal for your family. So we're going to get you back to that. But remember, we're going to get you something tasty today, and today it's mustard greens with ham hocks. Let's dig right in for the great ingredients. Okay guys, for our mustard greens today, we're going to add our meat in. We want to do this I'd say about an hour and a half or 2 hours before we put our greens in, because we want our meat to be nice and tender when we're cooking our greens, so that way we can kind of stir it through the pot and get the flavors going throughout the pot. So today I'm using a different kind of meat. I'm using a smoked pork ham hock. Now, I was raised as a little girl. As you can see, it's a different kind of meat. A lot of people really love these. I mean, I actually love these. I tend to love smoked turkey better, but these work really well if you like ham hocks. So I'm going to add ham hocks today, and I'm going to add these in. You may want to use a pair of tongs just to make sure you don't burn yourself. You want to add them really carefully to some nice boiling water, or right before the water boils, so it doesn't boil over on you. And you're going to let this cook for about 1.5 to 2 hours before we add our mustard greens. And at that time, we don't have to take the meat out. We're going to put our washed and very clean greens into the pot and let them simmer with the meat for, I'd say, another 1.5 hours. So you'll have a nice pot of flavored greens, and you will love this tasty recipe. This is one of my all-time favorites. When I was raised up, I just love greens. So we're gonna get back to our green picking and washing, so that we can have a nice pot of clean greens to put in this, and we will, go on to the next step and get your greens and your meat in the pot and let you cook them up while you do something else in the house. Okay. Okay, guys, we're gonna get digging into here, getting our greens prepared for wash. And I've done a green video before, and it was for collard greens. So I want to show you the difference in collards and mustards and or turnips. So mustards and turnips are picked the same way because they require that you leave maybe a little of the stem, a little more of the stem in. I do leave stem in my collards also, because that's where a lot of the vitamins are. So in this process, I've already got a pan in the sink ready to be washed in my green pans. I actually don't wash mine in the sink, but I want to show you how to prepare this one bundle so that we get a nice clean bundle, a clean group of greens in our pot. We don't want to throw just anything in our pot, to eat. So here I have a bundle of mustards. If you can see them, this is mustard greens. They tend to have more of a curly look around the top, almost similar to kale, but kale is a little more darker in appearance. So you're going to find these in bundles, as I explained to you about the other greens also. So now when you look at this, it has a band on it, and I'm very particular about this band. We do remove this band, but if you look at the edges of the greens, you'll see that these look a little rough around the edges, so we do not want to eat that. But what we'll do is we'll cut that off. So somewhere around where the band is tied, we're just gonna take our knife and we're just gonna chop most of that away. So when you start the cooking, you wanna keep a little bag handy so you can just dump everything. Then we want to take this band away from the greens very carefully. And as I've said before in videos, you want to remove this in full so that none of it is left to end up in your green pot, because there is a tiny wire inside. Sometimes there will be rubber bands. You want to make sure you dispose of those properly. And now you're going to just look at your greens. You don't want anything that looks yellow, anything that looks just, really just like sick, a bad green. I mean, it's like anything else. If it looks bad, you don't want to eat it. So I just kind of look at them. I have a couple of my green pans in the sink that I'm going to use to wash my greens. Now, this is a bad green. So when you see it and it starts to turn yellow around the edges, that doesn't look healthy to me. So we'll toss that one. And this one, I don't like the way this one looks either. So also, don't get discouraged if you see a lot of greens, in your bag that you're tossing. Sometimes if you don't get the right batch, you're going to have some to throw away. So don't get discouraged about that. You'll get better at picking them as time goes on. You'll look for healthier greens. And when I go to the store, sometimes I'm fooled myself. I get a batch and I'm like, oh, these are beautiful. And then I get them home and I haven't, because I was rushing, I haven't took the time to look inside the batch to see if they're really good. So don't get discouraged if you're throwing a lot away. It's just greens. And usually they're very inexpensive. So, we don't like throwing food away, but, we can't really help it. So we don't want to eat something that's bad. So that's kind of how you pick the batch. You pick the batch with the healthier stuff ending up in the pot. Anything, you'll have some with grit on them. Anything that looks too gritty, you may want to do a big rinse first in the sink to get the really big grit off. But I try not to get gritty greens when I go shopping for greens because I love them so. I tend to be more careful picking them. So as you can see here, I'm going to get you closer to the sink. I have my own green pans. So in my green pans, I keep these clean, and they're strictly for washing greens, collards, mustards, turnips, cabbage. I don't wash meat in them. I don't like using this sink. But what I have here is I'm going to take some salt, and I'm going to sprinkle some salt over them to work as an abrasive in the cleaning process. And then I'm going to let them soak in the sink in some nice lukewarm water, not cold water, but something that would help to dissolve the salt. I'm going to let them soak there for a few minutes, and I'm going to, transfer them to the next pan, and then I'll drain this water. I'm going to wash these greens 3 to 4 times, depending on how gritty they are. You want to make sure you wash them a lot. You don't want the grit to end up in the pot. So that process is going to take a few minutes. When I come back from that, I will show you when we add these to our pot. I will show you at that time, because now we have our smoked turkey cooking, and we're going to want to remove that from the pot and then put our greens in. Now, when we're cooking our greens, our ingredients are very, very simple. I try not to give you a lot of ingredients. Let's keep it simple where it's not overwhelming and it's not expensive to make. I usually start with my extra virgin olive oil. I have some chicken stock. I have some salt. This is a sea salt, my favorite. I have black pepper, and I have a Cajun Creole seasoning. This is pretty much all you need. When you start adding all the other things, onion powder and this powder and that powder, you tend to take away from the actual green taste, and now you're bringing in all the other tastes, onion and garlic, and I like to keep it pretty natural as possible. But what I do is I add onion on the side, fresh onion, which makes it tastier, and it's not a processed onion. I try to avoid as many processed products as I can. And as the cooking time goes along, I'm going to add these. And the chicken stock, I'm going to add about a half box right before, maybe 15 minutes before the greens are done. And that's just to give it a little extra chicken flavor along with the green. That's really, really tasty with the greens. So we're going to wash the greens up now. I'm going to do that for 3 or 4 times. When I come back, I'm going to continue to let my meat cook up There was another, I want to say another 45 minutes before I'm going to add these to my meat. I mean, my, the water that my meat is cooking in. It's been cooking for a little while now, but we're going to add the greens at that time. So let's take a break, and you're going to see me when I add the greens to the pot, and after washing them 3 or 4 times, and we'll move on to the next part of the video. Okay, guys, we have a nice pan of clean greens ready for our pot. Now, I washed these greens 4 times. When you're washing your greens, you want to make sure you feel absolutely no grit at the bottom, because no one wants gritty greens. And I have been a victim of that a few times, eating them from someone else's home. And if you ever eat at my house, you don't ever have to worry about gritty greens. And I always prepare my greens in these nice white pans. I know exactly how clean they are because I can see what's lingering on them. You can get these at a discount store if you like, or if you want to use your sink, that's fine, but make sure you just disinfect it really, really well. So we're going to get ready, and we're going to add these to our pot, okay? Okay, guys, we've added our greens to the pot. We're going to add a little salt in our pot. We're going to add a little Cajun seasoning in our pot. Remember, I love using sea salt. We're going to add some black pepper. Black pepper is good, so we won't over black pepper it. And we're going to add some virgin olive oil. And we're only starting with a little bit because we're going to add to this along the way. As the greens start to cook, they start cooking down, and that way you can season to taste along the way. Now, we added these greens into our ham hocks, which are really cooking up nicely. Let's see if I can get a piece of it to show you. The ham hocks are cooking. So they're starting to break apart already. You want to have your ham hocks cooking for a couple of hours before you add your greens. I added my greens and I let them cook down a little bit before I even started to put the seasoning on. So once the greens cook, I'm going to let them cook for about 2 hours. And right before that cooking time ends, somewhere around 1 hour and 45 minutes, I'm going to add in some chicken stock. And I have a box here. I'll add in about a half a box of chicken stock to, a half pan of greens, just to add an extra flavor. You don't want to over flavor your greens where you kill the actual green taste. So you're going to season along the way to your taste. Make sure you're very careful with the salt. And you're just going to let your greens cook for about 2 hours. You're going to cover. Depending on your pot, you don't want it to boil over. This is a very deep pot, so I should be okay for boilovers. If your pot is more shallow, you want to crack your lid so that you don't have it boiling up and over. But all you have to do is turn it to a low to medium heat. Let your greens do their thing. Continue to season along the way, and add your broth in somewhere around 1 hour and 45 minutes. And we're going to cook up for about 2 hours, and your greens should be pretty tender and ready for serving. And we will be back. Okay, guys, there you go. That's your mustards cooking up. I've added in a half a box of chicken stock. Now we're nearing the home stretch of the cooking process here. We have ham hocks inside, and they are tearing apart, which is really good. We've seasoned to make sure everything is tasty, as we want. And these I'm making for Honey today. So Honey, yes, I think would be very pleased, right, Honey, with your yes, with your finished dish here.
Thank you, honey.
You're welcome, sweetie. These are mustards and ham hocks. So we're just going to cook these low for a while to let some of the broth cook down. And we'll come back with the final product and let you see what your greens are going to look like. You won't be disappointed. You're going to want to eat these with some cornbread and some sides. Oh, they're going to be so delicious. The steam is just coming up through the camera. Oh, my God.
Smell it.
Okay. All right. We'll be back, okay? Okay, guys. There's the finished product. It's our mustard greens. Let's tune in here with some lean parts of the ham hock, some cornbread, fresh onion with tomato, and fried chicken breast. So I know that when you do this meal, you're going to enjoy it. It is an old school favorite. You don't need a lot of other side dishes to pair with this. This actually works very well together. And we're going to add our pepper sauce that we made about a week ago. We made this, and We're just gonna see how it's cooking up. Right now it's looking good, but we just want to see if the flavors are, streaming around in the jar and if it's ready to be eaten. So when you make this meal, you just enjoy it. As always, when you're cooking, you want to keep your cooking area clean, your hands clean, and we want you to enjoy this kind of meal with your family. We're hoping to get you away from the restaurant style of eating and get you back to the old school way, right, honey?
Yes.
Yeah, getting around the table with your family again, getting in conversation, knowing what's going on with your children. This is the kind of way I was raised, where we had events where people sat around and we talked.
Yes.
The kitchen was a big it was a big place in the house. So we want to get you out of the restaurants so that you and your family can come together at the table.
And unite.
Yes, and you can unite and get your kids off of social media for the dinner time. Dinner time is very sacred, and you just never know when it's going to be your last meal together.
Yeah, and then you engage with your family.
Yeah, you do it. You engage with your family a lot.
So going on day life.
Yes, you engage with your family. So we here at Caribbean Soul Food Duo are going to enjoy this meal for today, and we count our blessings. We know that without God, none of this is possible.
Amen.
We just want you to be able to experience the same. So we'll see you on our next Caribbean Soul Food Duo recipe. Don't forget, before you leave our channel, to like, share, and subscribe. Okay, take care.